welcome all to the community and the Constitution. We're going to change topics a bit here tonight, being the very first day of spring. Hope everybody's not suffering too bad. I know the northern is still getting hit pretty hard with the snows and the cold, but that's okay. The weather will change and you guys can get caught up on your planting. It being the first day of spring, I figured, well, it's time we take a trip. I have a special guest joining us here tonight. He'll be with us here just shortly, and we're going to take a small trip down to the farm. It is never too late to get started. And we're going to learn about all kinds of great things tonight. Let me see if I can get everybody's mic here up and going. Ed, you there?
Yeah.
Hello.
Hey. Hi, Jess. Hi, Zig. So glad that you were able to join us. Greatly appreciate you being here with us this evening. Jesse, this is going to be some great information for you, especially since you're so interested in the farming and cropping and growing. And that's this is what we're going to start working on from here on in. We've pretty much finished up all the basic lessons for the law side of things that we usually cover here on Wednesday nights. So hopefully you guys
Are you going to be having this tomorrow too? Because it would be really great if you did, because I got a date tonight, and I'm going to miss most of the show.
No, not a problem, Jesse. We're going to be, I don't think Ed's going to be with us tomorrow night, but he'll pop in from time to time, I'm sure, to help us out when he has time available. It's always going to be in the archive, and from here on in, we've pretty much going to start getting away from the law side. Now we're into our seasons of growing and community affairs, and people start getting together for barbecues and whatnot. As questions pop up, of course, we will field those. If you have anything on the law side that you're having trouble with your studies, that is always one of the main topics here. But our title indicates it is community first. Okay. During the wintertime, we really crack down on the Constitution side and the law side and help with our studies. But this time of year, we like to get away from that and start focusing on the things of importance, like our family and our neighbors, because it's all about community, folks. No matter what they do on the law side of things, if the community stands together, there's nothing that the law can do to touch us. And that's what a lot of people forget. We've gotten away from that. You know, it's certainly a much larger preventative measure to be involved with your community and working together as a single unit. It's easier said and much harder to accomplish. But today is the first day of spring, and I've been busting my butt the last couple of days. You had my tiller, finally got my tiller fixed, got that up and running. I went out there and I started cutting my rows and running back and forth with my little trailer to the dirt supply company so I can get some really good fresh topsoil in and get that all built up and mounded up. I actually was able late yesterday. I finally was able to get several plants going. I dropped a couple of seeds, but it's a little late in the season for the seeds. If you have not started your garden, you definitely want to start with plants. You don't want to try to do seeding, depending on the seed you're doing, of course, and where you live. If you're still up north and fighting the weather, by now you hopefully have gotten your tomato seeds started indoors. And that's very important. You have to give it that time to germinate. And that's what we're going to focus on tonight. We're going to learn about soil and tomatoes and all kinds of good stuff. And with that being said, Ed, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So glad you're able to take...
Open for questions.
Open for questions. That's perfect. With me being new to all this, especially probably a lot of our listeners, everybody knows I do aquaponics and I do other things, but I never actually got into the soil part too much, and I never did much for myself here on the home front. I run around setting everybody else's systems up in the world out there and help everybody else out there on the World Wide Web. But I've never had a need to really do anything here at home. Well, obviously most people have realized, and if not, they're probably within the last week or two have faced sticker shock. Food prices are going through the roof. And that's when I said, nope, I need to get my systems up and running here. And being behind the 8 ball, I was like, well, let me start reaching out to those in the know. And that's how I got talking to Ed, and he talked me through everything from the proper way to check my soil to, what kind of soils to use, how to, what step by step as we've been going through. He's the one that told me, because I had a whole bunch of seeds. I ran out and I bought seeds, and I was so proud of myself. I went out there and got all kinds of seeds and everything. Didn't look at packages. I didn't look at the zone, and I'm actually in a high 8, 9, low 9 zone. And that, for people who don't know what that is, I guess that's the hardness, and it just has to do with your climate and when to plant certain type of plants. So I really didn't look too much at that. So here I am, getting all ready and excited, thinking what I'm going to do, and I go and get a hold of Ed there and say, hey, look what I'm doing. He just looked at me and shook his head. He's like, okay, this is how we do it the right way. So I went out, took all his advice, and I tilled the land. I dug out the soil. I dug it down a good 3 inches. Went out and got a ton of topsoil. Went down there and got to my local dirt dealer, and he gave me an excellent price. And I went and got 2 trailer loads. So I actually have the 3 inch deep of soil, because below me I have nothing but sand. So I have very difficulty trying to grow anything. Always have in the past. That's why I got into aquaponics, because I didn't have to worry about the poor quality of soil. So that's why I was helping people down here, especially, how they can, get the raised beds, if you will, and get into that. So I went out and got all this soil, and now I got it all mounded up. Now I got a good 8 inches or better, probably closer to 10 inches of really good black topsoil. And then Ed was able to tell me from there what to do. Go ahead.
So you went from a pure sandy soil to you have an actual topsoil now.
Yes, pure topsoil.
Yeah, and that's what that's what a lot of people don't realize. You do need some sort of sand. How would you say, sandiness in your soil, along with the soil parts. We just amended your soil from sandy to a soil part. Does that make sense?
Yeah, correct. And my question on that is my thinking correct in saying, okay, you need some of that sand because soil can end up being packed very tight, so you want a little bit of sand in there to help keep it loose so the plants can breed and the roots can grow stronger and more easier?
Yes, packed soil is a bad soil. I live in Georgia, to where we have nothing but a clay soil. Clay is just that, clay. And we have to, where you had to amend soil, we have to amend it with sand to loosen it up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I guess you can't do much at all with clay. We do have some clay deposits, around the yard, but luckily nothing in my area. We have very little clay. But then if you go, it just depends on where you're at. I can go a half a block away from me, and they have, sand like I do. But then on the one corner of their yard, they got a large clay pocket, so you can't do nothing with that. I mean, some of those things are like 6 feet deep.
Whereas Georgia is nothing but red clay.
Okay.
And, we have to amend that with a sand.
Okay, so you put the sand first and the topsoil.
Yes.
Okay.
Where yours was the opposite of ours. You have to amend it with soil, where we have to amend ours with sand and soil.
Now, how do because I never had to worry about anything before with sand, because there's never any buildup of water. So anything you did try to grow, you would have to constantly water almost around the clock. Now with having this good soil in there, and I guess that holds the water much, a lot better for the plants. How often or how much water? How do I measure the water density of the soil itself? Is there like a trick or to know if it needs or if it's getting too much water?
Depending on what plants you're growing, but the typical thing is if you can stick your finger in the ground to where to your second knuckle, if it feels moist, you're getting enough moisture into the root of the plant.
Okay, so that makes sense. So yeah, so if it's dry, then it needs to add a little bit more water. So that'll be my test then, because we get rain. It's funny, just before the show, because they were calling for rain all day long. I said that, before the show, I said, let me get out there and get some water on my plants, because it just never came to my area. All around me, it's been thunderstorms all day. Everybody's been talking about rain. I've been, sun shining, a little overcast, but beautiful, beautiful day. And I'm just watching my soil, and it's drying out. I'm like, well, I don't want to go out there and water in the heat of the day with the sun, because that burns it, right? If you do that.
Yeah. But the one thing, the top of your soil will always dry out through the breeze, through the sun. It's beneath what you have to worry about.
Yeah, right. Because I noticed that when I was laying it out, because it was a real hot day the other day when we were out here doing all this work, me and my son. Thank God for him helping me. As I'm getting it down, and I get done with the one row and I start the other, I look over and it's like all dry already on top. But then when I went back over it to do my shaping, it's like, oh, okay, it's just the crust on the very, very top.
Yeah, it's just the top that's drying out.
Gotcha. Cool. All right, so as long as I can get the moisture on my fingertip, about the second knuckle, don't worry about watering it off. Just leave it as is.
No. I mean, as long as it's moist to your second knuckle, you're good.
Okay.
Because if you go deeper, it's going to be wetter.
Well, right. Yeah, so you don't want to go too deep with it. Understand that. Now, what happens?
Can I cut in and say something real quick, gentlemen?
Lucy, Jesse.
Hello?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay, sorry. I'm not trying to be rude. Y'all are talking about water, and that's why I called back. I was thinking, I was talking to a friend of my coworker today, actually, who owns a ranch, and he was talking to me about the fact that the biggest reason, a lot of people don't want to move out to the northeast part of the country. I live in Eastern Oregon, and we have a lot of snow because we live in the mountains. The snow is good for us farmers, or for the farmers specifically, because when the rains come, and it's dry, whatever. It's dry. It's done. The rains are done. But with the snow still on the mountains, when the snow melts, it comes down and it still irrigates the crops.
Cool.
Yes.
Which is like a very big, huge, giant. One of the biggest reasons I would like to start a farm out here where I live. I thought I'd point that out to a lot of people that don't know. I just found that out today, and I was really impressed. I had no idea about that, but. Move into the mountains where it snows in the winter. It might be a pain to deal with, but it's worth it in the long run because you don't have to water as much.
You get that natural irrigation. That's like me down here. We usually get the storms like every day, so we don't have to worry too much. What is a sign, and let's say it does start to happen, especially in my situation, now I have all the good soil there, so I'm going to start holding water, and because we do rain every day, how can we prevent over watering, Ed?
You want to stick on tomatoes?
Yeah. Let's just stick with the tomatoes. That's the main crop for somebody who's never done it before. It's something that's fairly easy to do. You can buy them. Like I said, now you want to buy the actual plants, so they're already starting to fruit, and makes it a lot easier. Just stick on the tomato base for today.
On your tomatoes, when your plants are getting to term before they bear fruit, you will start looking at your leaves. When your leaves start to turn a yellowish color, you have one of two options. They're either too dry or too wet, and that's where you feel the soil. If where the root is, if it's moist, it's getting too wet. If it's too dry, you need to water it more. your leaves on your tomato plants will tell you whether or not they're getting too much water or not enough water. And that is, that is the nature-proven test on tomatoes.
In the case of too much water, how would I rectify that? Just by adding some more sand to allow more drainage?
Or not watering at all.
Right, yeah, I wouldn't water, but like I said, down here, I pretty much, especially this time of year, we get that rainy season down here in Florida, and it rains every single day. So that is really my biggest concern, is overwatering and just really keeping a close eye on it. And if it does start, with the rains coming daily, because we're actually calling for rain now for the next 7+ days, every day. Now it doesn't rain for hours on end, but when it does rain, it comes down pretty good. It's a good thunderstorm kind of a rain, enough to really soak everything up. And sometimes it may only last 4 or 5 minutes. Other times it may last about an hour, and then that's it till the next day.
The only thing I can explain that is nature tends to herself. The evaporation effect, and she'll take care of herself. The most overwatering or underwatering problems that most farmers come into is us.
We do too much.
We do it too much. Other than droughts, and but when you're in a drought.
Right. Oh, hell, that's easy enough.
Yes, and other than a flood, we know when we're in a flood. But nature takes care of herself.
Now, when you're like I just learned, this is all new to me, so. I got my soil, I got my plants in and stuff, and somebody, we were talking about fertilizers and stuff. Now, there's some of them, everybody I've spoken to was telling me, don't put anything down for at least 2 weeks after your plants and roots, I guess, get settled into the new soil. But then you were telling me there's a couple of things we can do right away that we don't have to wait that 2-week period on.
Like alfalfa meal, blood meal, bone meal, things nature produces on her own.
So any kind of natural compost or any natural organic kind of mixture elements.
Yes.
Cool. Now, how would we go about? I guess pretty much everybody has them. I mean, I heard about them, and I know Florida being, and as well as you being there in Georgia, a very large agricultural area. Suppose somebody needed to get their soil tested so they knew, could find out, well, does it need a specific mineral that may be missing in the soil? How did they go about doing that? How would they look online, or who could they call to find out? Hey, where can I go to get this soil tested because I'm doing a garden and I don't know what it needs.
Most garden stores sell a soil test kit. I'm trying to think of the name of the department within your county that tests your soil for free. I'm trying to think of it. I can't think of it because I ain't used them in so long. But most counties have where you can take a plot of soil and have them test it, or most garden stores or even your like Lowe's or Home Depot sell a soil test kit.
Oh, okay. And you just test it and go from there.
Yep. It'll tell you if it's, pH neutral, pH positive, or, things like that.
I was... Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was looking at, I'm trying to find a place to get the alfalfa meal. So I was looking at online, always the first place for me to look. I live at my computer. And I'm looking around, and I didn't actually know there were all these different kinds. And they have these numbers. Like some of them, I guess it's like a 4-number or a 3-number sequence, if I remember. I was just looking at it, too. And the numbers are different, so I guess depending on what you're growing is which one you would use.
Yeah, most fertilizers it's a 3 number. And the most common is what they call 10-10-10. It's 10% nitrogen, 10% phosphorus, and 10%. There's another P word. And that's
Potassium.
what most fertilizers are.
And that's same with the alfalfa meal then. So I wasn't seeing like the normal numbers I would see. These were weird, like 0, 5, 8, and I don't know. It was just numbers I've never seen before. So I was like, let me find out, because I don't want to get the wrong combination. The most common one I've found is the one I guess is made for roses, and I guess that does the roses and vegetable gardens, and that's my main focus is the vegetable garden. So I guess that would be the right one for me then.
Yeah. Your alfalfa meal is mostly nitrogen because alfalfa is at nitrogen. And then I want to say phosphate. It's potassium. There's a nitrogen, a potassium, and I think it's phosphate. And that's your alfalfa meal. It is mostly nitrogen, just like chicken manure, just like your cow manures. They're mostly nitrogen-based.
Now, when you're dealing with the natural manures, like the ones you just mentioned, don't we have to do something with those before we can just introduce it into our crops? Is there something we have to do with that, like let it, make sure it's aged, or a proper way to mix that in with the garden already established? In other words, I already have my plants in the ground, so I got to be careful what I add to it and what I do to it. Of course, before you plant and seed, it of course would have been a better idea to get that kind of stuff taken care of ahead of time. But is there something I need to do before I could just introduce it to the garden?
Oh yeah, when you introduce your chicken manures, your cow manures, or even your horse manures, alfalfa manure, your alfalfa meal is the exception. You are introducing so much nitrogen at one time because they are so high in nitrogen. If you was to put it in your garden today and plant tomorrow, being it had so much nitrogen in it, the third day you would have actually burnt your plants, because nitrogen is like the gas to plants. It makes them go. And when you introduce it, it makes them go so fast they actually burn out. So when you're introducing them natural manures, a minimum of 2 weeks, let the soil absorb it. And then, like I said, a minimum of 2 weeks, then you plant. You'll have no worry of burning plants after that.
Cool. Is there any way that, with mine already established, other than the alfalfa meal, that you don't recommend using any of the natural stuff until next season?
Well, you can use this natural stuff if you use it in a compost. And when you're composting, you're letting it take its course. You're letting the nitrogen burn out. You're letting, and there's just enough left to when it burned out, you can put it around your plants and it feeds it.
Oh, all right. So that works. That's good. So I don't have to wait for next year, as long as I'm composting it and giving it time to start, breaking down and the nitrates burning off, if you will.
Yes. Yes.
Cool. Now, when I do that, is that something, again, that can be just added right to the top of the current soil? No problem. I don't have to, dig it down or anything like that?
No. You can lay it right on the top and let nature take her effect.
Easy.
It's okay. Walk into the woods. You see all these beautiful things growing, right? When was the last time somebody took a tiller to the woods?
Yeah, that's true.
Nobody.
Right.
It just does it on its own. Nature takes effect.
That's awesome.
You know, look at all the leaves. Leaves provide what? Nitrogen.
Right.
And yet they lay on top of the ground in the woods, and your trees still grow. It's nature.
Yeah, that is the key to all this, folks. It is a natural process, and like you said, how it messes up is we mess it up by fiddling around with it too much. It's best to get it in, let it go, and as long as you prepared it correctly the first time out, just leave it alone. Pretty much, Mother Nature's going to do the rest of the job for us, as long as we don't interfere and screw it up along the way.
And that's the biggest problem. We think too much in it. We got to do this. We got to turn it up. No, let nature do her thing, you know. And if no one believes that, walk into the woods. Nobody tends to the woods, and yet things grow big on their own.
How true that is. Most definitely. We're focusing on tomatoes, guys, because it's one of the most common. Most people think it's a vegetable. It's actually a fruit. You can just pick it right off the vine and eat it like an apple. A lot of people, for some reason in their mind, have different types of things, such as tomato, misclassified. Thinking, well, it's a vegetable. Well, no, it's a fruit. And if this is new, it's great. Start out with a tomato. It is, even if you don't eat tomatoes. My wife, she does not eat raw tomatoes. She won't sit there and eat it like an apple. She doesn't want it in her cold salad. But yet, you cook it, tomato sauce, ketchup, all the rest, not a problem. I think her actual issue with it is the acidity. I think that's really what she has a problem with. It would be the acidity in it. Is there a way, Ed, there's so many different breeds of plants out there. For an individual that may have trouble with the acidity of the common tomato, is there a brand that is, or a breed, I should say, not brand, a breed that is less acidic than what you find?
There are so many. The question is, the problem that she had with the acidity, were they from store-bought tomatoes?
Yes, of course. I'm sure. I doubt she's ever had probably a fresh-grown one, except for maybe in her garden when she was a kid. I don't know.
Yeah. And I couldn't stand tomatoes either. Couldn't stand them until I started growing my own. We'll say 23 years ago. And now I eat them like apples. I mean, before then, tomatoes made me gag because they were so acid. But now I don't have that problem. I mean, is there a tomato that has no acid or minimal acid? That is, like I said, the variety out there is ungodly.
Yeah, I noticed that.
The natural grown, it seems to balance out. To whereas, okay, let's say strawberries. We can grow strawberries. The best way in the South where I am to grow strawberries is to put pine straw around them. Why pine straw? Is because of the acid that pine straw gives. But do you taste the acid in the strawberries? No.
No, okay.
You see what I'm saying? But strawberries need acid to grow, just like blueberries. You taste the acid in blueberries.
Nope.
you see them, but they still need a high load of acid to grow. Tomatoes. What they do with store-bought tomatoes, I have no idea. But when
That's what it tastes like.
When you go to natural-grown tomatoes, is there acid there? Yes. Do you taste it? I've yet to taste it.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I am so psyched. I've been I was telling Ed this afternoon when we were talking about this, and I said I find myself glancing out my window right here by my desk. Anybody's ever listened to the show, they know I got my 4x4 little area here where I live in. I got my TV above my computer monitor. I got everything but a refrigerator right here. I got my window and fan here. Well, right out my window is where I did my rows. So every couple of minutes, I keep finding myself looking out over there at the plant. It's like, it's not going to change in 5 minutes. I understand that, It's just that I'm so psyched, and I want to make sure I do it right the first time. And that's why I asked Ed to join us tonight and help us out. For those
I told you were like a little dad.
Yep. My
brand new
kid.
dad looking for his children to grow.
Exactly. Yep, that's exactly what you said to me, too. And it's so true. I just don't want to make a good thing bad by playing with it. That's why I ask all these questions. What should I do? When should I do it? And when should I just leave it the hell alone? And I think that's what most people who are new to growing any product, I think that's all of our, let's say, our Achilles heel, if you will, because we always have that thought like, well, we have to do something, when the best thing is to just leave it alone.
And that's what I told you. It's just like being a brand new father or mother. When your first child is born, you sit there, why is it crying? This and that. Then when your second child's born, you know why it's crying.
Right.
So you ignore it. No, they're just crying. There is, like I told you, it's one big learning curve. Just let it be and learn from year to year to year. So you're fine right now. Let them grow.
Just let them do their thing, and I ain't got to mess with nothing anymore. Just watch my water. As long as my rains are coming, I'm good. If it's not raining, go out there and check the moisture of the soil and add some more water to her.
Exactly. You remember when your firstborn was born.
Oh, yeah.
Why is he crying? Yeah. Then your second one's born. Oh, we know why it's crying. And you tended to it. It's no different. Like I told you earlier, from his hand to yours.
Amen. This is something, folks, that's great. Even if you don't have a place that you can dig into the dirt, if you will, the best thing about tomatoes and many other fruits and vegetables, you can do a little patio garden, okay, a little raised patio garden. They'll grow great in that. They even have the hanging baskets where you can just hang it from your porch for tomatoes and especially herbs and spices, and we'll get into those another time, mainly the herbs. You're only limited to your own imagination. Don't feel like you can't do this because you have no space. I know friends of mine, they do it in their bathroom, like especially depending on the plant, and when they're growing it, they do it. They have hanging baskets and all that, and they start their seeds, and they leave it in the bathroom all the time. And I asked the one, I said, "What the hell are you doing this in your bathroom?" And he's like, "Well, because anytime I take a shower, the heat and the steam, and I'm like, hey, if it works, and it does, I didn't know why.
It does.
So it's like, okay, yeah, it makes sense, when you start thinking about it. But when you're new to it, you're like, what the hell is this crazy guy doing putting shit in his bathroom for?
And that's where we as humans neglect. We didn't invent this. This has been grown in the wild since Earth has been here. We just learned how to eat it. Tomatoes, cabbage, corn. It's been here since Earth has been here. We just learned how to grow it.
Yeah, instead of it just growing wild where it felt like it, we took it and said, okay, well, no, I want you to grow here.
We'll plant it here. Corn don't know it was supposed to grow in rows. Tomatoes didn't learn it was supposed to grow in cages. And you see what I'm saying?
Right.
We took it and adapted it to us.
Exactly. That is so cool. Now, with all the different varieties of tomatoes, and we mentioned this a little while ago, and I found that out because I went to look for something on a tomato online, of course. And the next thing you know, I'm looking and I'm seeing I never heard of that before. Never seen that before. What is that? I couldn't count how many different varieties of tomatoes are out there. Now I'm sure there's the common ones that everybody's familiar with, whether from the store or elsewhere. Every tomato. Well, first of all, does it vary by region? Let's say the weather is the same. I guess that part wouldn't matter, right? You can grow let's say, a beefsteak tomato anywhere on the planet, as long as the climate is formidable and you have the proper soil. Am I correct in that?
Yes.
And is that kind of the same with all the different breeds?
Yes. The thing is, okay, let's take Monsanto out of the picture.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Pure evil.
The reason you have so many varieties or strains of tomatoes is because people, us, we made them. Just like, okay, in my neck of the woods, you have what they call the mortgage buster. Yeah, mortgage buster tomato. This is a guy in Sharpsburg, Georgia, that come up with his own breed of tomato. Why do you call it the mortgage buster? Because it paid off his house.
Nice.
And that's why you have so many strains. Just like I told you earlier, the brandy wine.
Yeah.
That come from the Amish. The Cherokee purple. That actually come from the Cherokee Indians. This never dies if we keep it going.
And that's the beauty about it. It's such a versatile fruit that we barely even scratch the surface of what you can begin to do with these different kinds. Like, we all know, okay, well, our beefsteak, which is our larger ones, which is perfect for sauces, to make your pasta sauces and stuff out of. And then we have the Roma. Is that the proper way to say that?
Yeah, Roma. That's for your salsas. And, before microscopes, before all this science, people took, a tomato is let's say, bisexual fruit. It has a male and female within the same plant.
Right.
It has sex with itself. Like it or not, that's what a plant does. It sexes itself. And that's how these different strains come about. I'll take this Roma, I'll take some pollen from this, and pollinate it with a beefsteak. And over the years, doing this same thing, that's how we get this plant to where we'll name it David Meola.
There you go. Cool. Now, but doesn't nature how come, if we're the one that's doing this, and I know we do a lot of this, we do all this cross-pollination and whatnot, doesn't nature as well, though, do the cross-pollination? How come just nature itself hasn't come up with all these different designs?
Yes. It's not cross-pollination, that's what we call open pollination.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not that's open pollination. To where if you plant a Roma, being as we're sticking on tomatoes, a Roma next to a beefsteak, and that yellow pollen that floats around tomato plants, that is the, let's say, sex.
Right.
Around them two plants, that is open pollination. And between them two plants, that's what happens. Just like corn. You can plant Silver Queen here, and a mile away, the wind blows, and you plant, let's say, regular Indian corn, the wind will pollinate, open pollination, the Indian corn, or vice versa.
Huh. And this, of course, is all good and fine and no problems. Nature's been doing it this way forever.
Yeah,
It's only when
until we come up with
messing
GMO foods.
Right. That's what I was saying next. But what about all these? Now, another big thing that I learned, and this part I actually did know, when you're doing these kind of stuff, guys, and especially being, the start of the first day of the season, depending on your area, you want to have this stuff in the ground. You want to start with plants, especially tomato, because you're so far behind the eight ball, as I've discovered.
Yeah. Whereas I planted mine by seed.
Right. Now, if you plant by seed, can you explain a little bit of how that works? Why do we have to always start certain plants like tomato in the wintertime, and we start them indoors? It has to do with the length of time it takes for each stage for that seed to go through.
Yeah. Okay. A tomato, because of the climate. I started mine in early January. You go from a seed, it becomes a sprout, then, it goes into a plant. Then the tomatoes you bought that you put in your ground have been hardened. Remember, like a fruit tree, if you was to get a seed from your apple tree, before you put it in the ground, it has to be what they call freeze hardened. So you take that seed and put it in your freezer to freeze harden it before you could plant it. A tomato's no different. So when it gets time before you put it in the ground, you have to, what they call, harden it. You put it out in the climate, where it's cool at night, warm in the day. Cool at night, warm in the day. And about 2 weeks of that, then you can put it in the ground. You're acclimating it to its climate.
Cool. And how long does that usually take, like from seed before you can finally get to that point where you're ready to put it in the ground, like from point A to point B? How many weeks or months should it take on average, or does it take on average, rather, before you can get it out to the ground?
From seed to ground, about 3.5 to 4 months.
That's what I was getting to. That's why anybody's ever branded, anybody who's ever grown tomatoes, you see them, they always have them seeding in the house, because it takes that 3 to 4 months. If you try to start from seed today, the first day of spring, and you drop seed in the ground,
it'll be midsummer
before you can get anything out of it. And at that point, then too, you're cutting your complete growth cycle in half. Right? You're not going to get the amount of yield because it's not going to be up growing for that many more months it could have been growing for when the winter frost first comes in and takes it all out.
Exactly. That's why you never see, when you go into a nursery, you never see tomato seeds, because you can't plant them and expect fruit. You can go into a nursery and buy tomato plants. Of course, them plants have been growing for months at a time.
Yeah, so even though it looks so tiny, it's like, oh man, it's only a couple of weeks old. It really is, 3-4 months or better older before you'll ever see it at the actual store to buy it.
Oh, exactly. I have tomato plants in the house right now under a light that are no more than 2 inches tall, and they've been growing since January.
Wow. Are there other things in the garden that we should be aware of, like other things that we might grow that also require that very long, germination process or growth process, to go from seed before we can put it in the ground, that we'd want to make sure we get in a plant and not just go and put the seed in the ground, being, already this late in the season in the aspect of seeds, like the tomato taking 4 months? Are there other things that are similar to that?
Yeah, the only thing I can think of, in being we're in spring, the only thing I can think of right now, David, is cabbage, your broccolis, because you still got cool weather. But other than that, even your corns, they can grow from seed. It sort of broke my heart when you planted them by plant.
Oh, well, you told me to go out and getting to a different kind of seed than what I had, and I was like, okay, and I saw that, and I was like, cool, now I'll take them. I was cheating and get ahead of the game, trying to catch up here. I'm so far behind.
You can't go wrong. I'm telling you, you can't go wrong.
That's so cool. Oh man, I tell you, I've been taking up so much of your time throughout the days, especially over the last couple of days, trying to get this soil ready, trying to get some stuff in the ground, getting the kids involved, and that's what it's about, folks. It's something that everybody can be a part of, no matter what age they are. Well, of course, a newborn ain't going to help you much, but if they're old enough to get around and you can communicate with, they're old enough to learn to start doing some sort of gardening, even if it's just a little tiny, house plant, anything. But we all need to connect. It's a way that it brings us together as a family, as a community. If you just think about, okay, hey, you may be the one doing the planting, doing the seeding, doing the planting, and doing your groundwork and all that right now. As that's growing up, others are going to share by that because I'm sure you're going to be, if you have an abundance, you're going to share with others. You're going to invite people over for barbecues. You're going to, people are walking by who know you, have friends. Oh, wow, you started a garden. Especially if it's the first time you ever did it. I was just out there. I said, mine tilled the ground the one day. The next day we cleaned it all out, added the soil. And yesterday we got the seeds in the ground. So it's not even been 48 hours, not even a full 72 hours yet. And I already had two of my neighbors come by. Oh, wow, you're doing a garden. I guess they don't do their own garden. And they're like, that's great. Blah, blah, what are you going to grow? What are you doing with? And it right there, just by starting the process, I have neighbors coming out of the woodwork, that I don't see that often. And we're talking about, like barbecues and what are you going to do with it, about canning and all that. And we're going to get into a lot more of that as well.
And that's the thing. We have gotten away from this. We have gotten away from what God intended us to do, whether it be God or your Creator. Regardless, we've gotten away from what He intended us to do. Now, you feel a sense of pride when neighbors or you grew this? Yeah. Well, I grew this. Oh, wow. Well, I grew this one bigger. That is a sense of pride. And that's where I say from His hand to yours. This is in our DNA. We just forgot it.
We become lazy.
Yes, we forgot what He intended us to do. He didn't make a grocery store, but He made a corn. He made a tomato. He made an eggplant. He didn't invent a grocery store.
No, and that's so true. We become, just like fast foods. They're popping up. They've popped up everywhere. Just since the 60s. It hasn't been that long ago, and they're like, you got 2 and 3, within 10 feet of each other. It's just crazy because we're becoming a society of we want it now. We don't have the patience. It's more convenient. And this is so much wastefulness and it's not just on food, folks. Same thing with diapers. There was no such thing as a throwaway diaper. These cloth diapers. We didn't have to worry about that in our landfills and all the other problems with it. Until so many generations ago. Before that, there was no such thing. And more people are getting back to the cloth diapers. Just think of the amount of money you're going to save. Just by getting away from disposable.
It's not because of the environment. It's not because of this. It's because of this.
Right.
And that's what I love about it. We're getting back to our roots.
And I tell you, just like anything else, we need to be hit on the head. And most people, the nail, the hammer that's hitting us on the head, and my case included, is financially. You know, that sticker shock at the register. You know, you go to the grocery store, and over the last year, it's like, okay, I used to be able to go in and $100, you know, at one of the big club stores or something, I'd walk out there with 2 grocery carts, you know, full of stuff, full of supplies and goods or whatever. Now you go and you spend $100 and you got 4 things in your cart. Like, huh?
And me and you are best friends. I mean, we have talked, and you just convinced me to get on the air.
Yippers.
And I told you, I haven't bought vegetables in a grocery store in the past 15 years. I don't believe in it. Why? God gave it to me. I can grow it. It's better for me. Now, if everybody listening to you was to take out their vegetable equation out of their grocery bill, how much would that cost them?
You mean how much it would save them if we got rid of that?
No, exactly.
Hundreds. I know, being a family of 5 with 3 young teens, and if I'm able to just to take out my vegetables alone, you know, including like my pasta sauces, because now I have the tomatoes to make my own sauces, it would probably save me minimum $200, $300 a month. And that would be low ball on it.
And you know my grocery bill, I've done told you, my grocery bill for a family of 4 monthly, and I just buy meat, is $40 a month.
Amen.
Of course, I have chickens and rabbits and all that good stuff. But,
and you hunt. And you hunt and have generations of people behind you that have helped teach you all this and help you when you may have a problem. And that's what a lot of us are lacking, because we've lost the family unit. We've lost that family structure that is so important to a community. And that's for these last 4 years, anybody's ever read any of my articles or listened to the shows, that's where the focus has always been. We have to get back. Community begins in your own household, folks. If there's a division within your house, there's no way you're going to unite outside of that house.
Amen. And you want to bring a family together, put them in the garden. Because if your hand ain't in it, you don't eat it.
There you go. Yeah, that's like that old storybook I remember from a kid. With the hen, she was, she had all these other animal friends, and she'd be out there, and she was asking for help to help turn the soil, and nobody would help her, so she did it herself. Asked for help, all these different stages all the way through. She kept asking for anybody to come help, and they all had other things to do. But when it was all done, and she made this beautiful, loaf of bread and all that she made out, of course, now all of a sudden, they all want to, of course, come over and eat it. And she's like, well, where were you when I asked you to help me with this? And, of course, at the end of it all, she did share. But she did make a very good moral point, if you will. If you're not willing to sacrifice and put in your hands and help in some way, some fashion, don't expect to be blessed by the fruits of my labor, in that aspect. And I just thought that was, it's just something that popped into my head, and I said I remember that from when I was a kid. I'm sure I'm paraphrasing, so I really can't remember all the ins and outs of it, but that was pretty much the understanding I came away with from that story.
And it's true. And look at children; they love to get dirty.
Oh yeah,
they love to go out and just eat stuff. Let them go out in the garden and eat it. Let them pick it and eat it. No, let's not wash it off. Guess what? It's not bad for them.
No.
It's good for them.
Yeah, as long as you ain't store-bought shit and it's your own out in the garden.
Exactly. You buy store-bought food. Oh, you got to wash it off. You got to wash the wax off. I've yet to, and you will yet to grow a plant that has been dipped in wax.
Yeah, I've never.
You know, eat it. It's good for you.
Yeah, that's one of the advantages I have around my area. There's plenty of orange trees, and I don't have any apple tree close to me, but we have orange trees every other block here. My development used to actually be an orange grove back in the day before it became developed, and we still have orange trees around here. Ain't nothing better than just walking up to the tree on a hot day or something and reaching up, popping down a fresh orange and chow down. It's not what you're ever going to get in the store. It's just
and
not.
That's what I say. It probably didn't taste as good. What you bought in the store don't taste as good as what you'll pick.
Yeah, absolutely. Same thing with like growing up in Jersey. We had tons of everything from wild blueberries and blackberries and whatever. I think they were raspberries. It just grew wild all around the area when I was growing up, and we know nothing about going out there in the first thing in the morning, going out there and pick a bunch of berries and stuff to come home, bring them back inside and put them in our bowl of cereal in the morning. Or mash it up into a jam to put on the bread. It's just you're never going to bless yourself. There's nothing you're going to ever buy that's going to come anywhere near the taste of natural. And there's another advantage. Yeah, go ahead.
Everybody drinks out of bottles now, water.
Yeah.
I drank out of a water hose.
There you go.
How many kids today drink out of a water hose?
Mine. But other than that, very few.
Yeah, they rather drink bottled water. And guess what? The bottled water come out of a water hose.
Yeah, we're on well water here. If you're on city water, I can understand it. You know what that? All the crap they pour in water, I wouldn't drink that shit either. But we're on natural well water here, and we have natural springs all over Florida. So we have good water here. No problem there at all. We don't need none of that bottled crap. And besides that, you got to watch, folks. Make sure if you do that you're buying spring water, not bottled water. If you read it, it came out years ago when it first started doing this, and people were getting popular. The product itself was kind of getting popular. Basically, what the grocery stores and that were doing, they were taking the bottles, going in the back, filling it up by the faucet, and putting a cap on it and selling it. It was nothing special about it. They just went and filled it from the tap and sold it to the public. That's bottled water. It just comes from a tap. Spring water, that's a little bit different. Some bottled water, you'll look for the word and it says it on there. It says filtered. Well, that's okay. At least that's a little bit better. At least then they put it through some sort of filtering before before bottling it and selling it to you. But the other advantage to all this is the health factor. Everybody's heard of the big scare of Obamacare. Well, guess what, folks? You ain't got to worry about that kind of stuff or what all the other BS that's going on out there, especially vaccines and how evil they are. Vaccines are just no good for you. If you start growing your own, you don't have all that chemical and all that garbage that they put food products through before it gets to you. You're never going to be more healthier. Everybody knows me. I have all kinds of physical back problems and whatnot, and suffer from migraines. I'll tell you what, I've done more work in the last 72 hours than I can remember. And believe it or not, other than the first day being a little sore, I feel pretty darn good, other than a couple of calluses that may be on my hands. Yeah, they're a little sore and tender. But it's so true that once you get out there, and I was doing 10-hour days out there, doing all that. That little one. I was saying goodnight to my daughter, sorry. I was thinking, because I've done other things in the past before where I was, be out there for 4 or 5 hours and the next day could barely move. But for some reason, I didn't feel that. Maybe it's psychological. I don't know how to relate to it or how to say it, or just, the Lord, hey, he helped
I want
me.
to say it's spiritual.
Yeah, exactly. It's somebody besides me helped me get through this, because any other time I couldn't do 4 or 5 hours without being half the time being able to walk afterwards. The following day, be lucky I can get out of bed, uh, and it's just something I can't explain. It just is. And like I said, I thought for sure I wasn't going to be able to get out of bed after that first day, and so I real carefully, swung my legs out and went to get up on my feet, and I was like, hey, this is okay, boom, went about, started doing my thing, thought nothing of it, went back out there and doing the work the following day, and running back and forth, and yeah, I'd get winded a little bit or something because I was working my butt off, and I was out there in the 80-plus degree heat that we had the last couple of days, sweating like no tomorrow, but I wasn't in pain. I actually felt good.
You are getting back to what you were intended to do. You are becoming undomesticated.
It's a great feeling. It
is, because you actually get to see the fruits of your labor, not money, your actual labor. Your labor will feed your family, and to that will bring the biggest, like I told you, it'll bring the biggest smile on your face. You did it with the help of others.
Amen. Absolutely. If it wasn't for you talking me through, and if it really wasn't, the first thing, it's something I've always wanted to do. Like I said, I help others grow in all kinds of different mediums and stuff. Not what they grow, but how to set it up. I remember actually, got involved in the planting part of it. That's up to the homeowners or whoever want to help them do the systems. Put what you want in there. I'm just here to get you going here. So I never really got into that side of things. And then with the food billing and the pricing, and I don't like to taste anything. I'm getting nothing I can prepare seems to come up the way I want it to, just because I know the product I'm starting with is crap to begin with, and I know that. And then the necessity of, hey, I can't afford to do this anymore. I need to do something. So I sat there and said, that's it. I'm done. It's something if you've been following the show, it's something as a state national, you want to be self-reliant. You want, it's all about that independence and self-reliability. You don't need to have two people working 80 hours a week to try to raise a family if you have other means available. And gardening is one of the easiest things anybody can do, even if you're in an apartment. You can do something. And everything you can do on your own, not only do you benefit financially, health-wise, spiritually, the pride that you had brought up earlier. I mean, there's just so many positives about it that once you start, it's not like a fad. It's once you start,
it's a way of life.
Yeah, it's a fever. You're done.
It is a way of life. And speaking of state nationals, where I stand on that. I believe in it. But what freedom do you have when you can't feed yourself or yours?
Amen.
You have none.
Yeah, and that's so true. So true. And not only that, it's even it's a chance even to make some money from it. Not only is it going to save you money, but once you get certain things down and you're into it and you have some, there's a chance to even make a couple of dollars back on it. And that's another thing that, it's to look forward to, work towards. We had a state national many, many years ago. I'm going way back. It's still in business today. Him and his wife, they decided to get together. They started a small company. It's now it's nationwide, union-wise, across the union here. You can get into it, and it's they got with their local farmers, and they created and developed a growers. I forgot what it's called now. Oh shoot! I had the word. I just drew a blank. Co-op. Okay.
where growers sell to one another and they sell it to the public.
Right, yeah. What they did here is they went around, and you cost so much to be a month to be a member, and every so many weeks, the order is already put in ahead of time to the farmer, so he knows exactly what to do. You're dealing directly with the farmer, so not only are you getting all the fresh, you know exactly how he's doing his, you know, what chemicals he's using, if he's using
His crop.
you don't deal with them. You know, you deal with only the natural farmers, so that you're going to get a much cheaper price. It's a guaranteed monthly sale. The farmer's going to have because he's told ahead of time. Boom! I need this, this, and this. And you can't do well. Like, all right, I'm by myself. I'm going to go down and go down to the local farmer and say, okay, give me 2 heads of lettuce, 3 or 4 tomatoes. That's not what you deal with a farmer with. You go to a farmer's market for that. When you deal with a co-op, you're ordering for 25 families, 30 families. Now you got an order. Now you're making it worth the farmer's effort to work with you. You'll get the prices are dirt cheap. You don't have to go out to the farm. We have somebody's dedicated to go out with their pickups. They pick up the order for the month. Everybody meets up in town, close by, or in your neighborhood if it's just your local little neighborhood. You all meet up. Okay, hey, I'm going to pick it up today. I'll have it at the house. By 9 o'clock in the morning. When you guys get a chance, come on, swing by and pick up your order.
And it works great. Like I said, my daughter runs a fruit stand for the past 4 years since she was 10 years old. The fruit stand's bare. They tell her what she wants. She walks to the garden and picks it, brings it back, and she sells it. They know where it comes from. It's fresh picked.
There you go. And there's nothing better. Nothing better at all. There's so many advantages to this. I'm amazed even myself why I didn't get into it earlier, but I was being an over-the-road trucker. You're gone. You don't really have time to do that kind of stuff. However, for those who have the time and that are home on a more regular basis, there's no reason why you shouldn't do this, or at least have something going. It's nothing but beneficial all the way around. I cannot discover one negative aspect to this, and it's just nothing but advantage over advantage over advantage.
There is absolutely no negative to it.
Yeah, it's something we can all do. We were actually born to do it. You may be reluctant at first, like, all right, I give you a challenge, just like I did to myself. Never grew a damn thing in your life. I don't care if you got property, I don't care if you got you're in an apartment, whatever. Go and start with a tomato plant. I don't care if you don't even like tomatoes. You can't stand the taste of tomatoes. I challenge you to go buy a tomato plant. They're even one of them stupid little hanging basket ones. And see, by the end of all this, that your mind isn't changed when it comes to growing. It's fun. It's something you can see occur before your eyes, especially, and we'll get into that in the second hour here, when you find out all the different things you can do with it, and we're going to get into a little bit of canning and all that. But before that, we're going to take a short break because I also have to want to address a couple of questions about mulching and setting up your own compost heaps, and how's best for someone to start from scratch who's never done composting before, and may even be a new term for them. Man has so much information, much like our special guest tonight, and it helps open our minds to the spirit of things and getting back to what's really important. And it's not that new car or new dress or ring or jewelry or any of the material things that we have become accustomed to here in the States especially. We've become such a community of consumers, and we don't produce much anymore. And that's sad. You know, there was a time when, especially the southern states, were always known greatly for their agricultural industry. The North, I got you. And the North was known more for its industry. And they haven't lost it in the South, folks. You know, they're still here. They're still growing. They're still doing it the way it's always been done. And that's what we all need to get back to. We need to get back to life's simplicities before it's forced upon us. Because one day is going to come where you're just not going to have that green dollar in your pocket to get the food you may need to feed your family, or to go out and buy that car or gas or whatever is needed, whatever is affecting your budget. You know, jobs are scarce. There's so much happening at one time. There's no way to keep up with it. So you have to prioritize. You have to figure out what's more important to you, that television or putting food on the table, keeping a roof over your head, or that new car in the driveway. But it all begins with you taking that hard look in the mirror and saying, it's my turn to step up. It's my turn to take that responsibility. Yeah, go ahead, brother.
Television, car, tastes like shit.
Yeah, kind of hard to eat that. Yeah, it reminds me of Eddie Murphy, one of his jokes talking about his father worked for Mattel, and how for Thanksgiving dinner they ate a Monopoly game, and he was upset because he ate all Boardwalk and Park Place or something like that, whatever the joke went. But yeah, doesn't taste good, folks. Food is a priority and should always be. It's not always going to be there. If you ever lived in a storm area, hurricanes, tornadoes, all the storms we have you ever tried to run out to the store? You're not going to get in the store if you're lucky. And within the first hour or two, there's nothing left. If you haven't prepared ahead of time, you don't eat for the next few days until the stores get restocked. That should be, in itself, should be a wake-up call. You know, they laugh at preppers. Hello? Doesn't matter the reason they're doing it. The point is, they're prepping. They're not going to panic when that storm hits. They're not going to panic when the food on the shelf runs out. They're not going to panic when the price for a loaf of bread goes up to a wheelbarrow worth of money. And don't laugh, folks. This is what happened in the 1900s. You ever hear of the Great Depression? They used to take a wheelbarrow full of money to go to the local store to get a loaf of bread. We're quickly heading. Yeah.
Look in the South. Snow. They can predict snow. The grocery stores are filled. Everybody buying milk and bread. I don't get that, but that's what they buy. Why?
They just don't know any better.
No, they don't. When we can go in our pantry, yeah, I have a year's worth. What's a day of snow?
It's amazing. And we've seen this, but just like anything else, there's always that one event that will happen or occur that makes that light bulb go off. Like, wait a minute. Why am I doing
You had it. I had it. And everybody that will come to you or this show will have that light.
Amen.
The only sad part about it, they're behind the 8 ball. If the shit was to hit the fan tomorrow, I'm going to start growing today. You're behind the 8 ball. What are you going to do if that crop don't grow?
Or let's say
you'll starve.
Well, let's say it all does grow perfectly. How long does that crop got to grow before you can even get your first, tomato off it, or your first cucumber, whatever it is?
It'll grow, but you'll be dead.
Yeah, because you'll start before it's ready.
Exactly. We're already behind the 8 ball. If you start today, we're behind the 8 ball. That's why this is such importance. This is why you see all these regulations. You know, we can talk all the conspiracy theory all we want. You know, yeah, is there some credence behind it? Sure. Why don't they want, you know, these laws? Why don't they want you to grow your own food? Why?
Control. He who controls the food.
What was that old saying back before all of us? An army marches on its stomach.
Oh, yeah.
You know, if you're hungry, you ain't going to fight.
No.
It's time to start now.
Exactly. Now, something, a little turn on that, though, what just happened to pop into my head. If you're hungry, yeah, you're not going to fight as a unit, okay? However, if you're hungry, you're going to start fighting everybody else.
For a morsel, not even a meal, morsel of food. And guess what? That person that has a meal will defeat that person that wants a morsel of food.
Amen.
History
food is the fuel.
Itself. Yeah. Exactly. History repeats itself. If you want to, let's go back as far as Adam and Eve. History repeats itself. We are getting back to what we were meant to do. It's just, this is a lost, I don't want to say art because it's not an art. We're getting back to what we have forgotten. And everybody has it in their DNA. It's called survival.
Yes, sir.
I mean, that's the only thing I can sum it up to. We just forgot it. Or wasn't taught it.
Yeah, it's like a disease. Once you catch this, it's like, you got it, you know. I already got myself expanding. I mean, I've been talking for years with my mom and that. She's got a nice little piece of property over there. She's by herself, no animals or anything to worry about. It's fenced-in yard. I already told her, and she's even got a large container of heirloom seeds and stuff all ready to go. I just never got around to doing anything with it. Well, now I got the drive. I got the energy, but I'm working on pennies, so I got to take it one step at a time. But every time I get those couple of pennies saved up, boom, I'm running down, getting me a load of topsoil, you know, because I can't do anything without the topsoil. That's my downfall. I can do all the tilling, I can prep, labor ain't a problem. But because I'm in a pure sand area, you know, I have to get the topsoil. So thank God I get a good price for my little trailer. It covers.
Like I told you, this is the first and last year you'll ever spend money.
Exactly. It's all a matter of getting set up. Once it's set up, and it's it's there. It'll always be there. Once I get my first set of seeds, we're going to learn eventually how to harvest those seeds. So they'll always be there. And that's the bottom line, folks. You know, we always heard that saying, you get what you pay for, or you get out of what you put into something. Right? If you ignore the maintenance on your vehicle, it's going to break down. You know, if you don't take care of something, it's not going to take care of you. The ground is no different. But once you get that started, once you do it the right way the first time, it's only going to pay for itself time and time and time again. It's never going to disappoint you.
It's better than the stock market.
Yeah. You can't beat the odds. It's just a matter of getting the initial startup. So you do what you can afford. If you can only afford that one tomato plant, you know, at $3 or $4, or if you get the 99-cent package of seeds. Of course, you can't get them in the ground this year, but at least you can start them. And there are certain things you can get into the ground right now with seeds. You go and buy one of them, you know, even though you can't They're not heirloom, maybe. All right. So you're not going to be able to harvest the seeds, and this is why it's so important what kind of seeds you buy. If you're going to harvest the seed, you have to make sure they're heirloom. Okay, they're not GMO, they're not hybrids or any of that. Because you could harvest the seed and you could plant it, and you'll get a nice, pretty green plant, but it's not going to bear any fruit. There's not going to be anything for you to consume off of it. This is why you don't want that hybrid stuff. You don't want that, manufactured, in some lab somewhere crap, because it's not going to give you ever bearing fruit, and that's the secret.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this is what I say about heirloom seeds. I am planting tomato seeds that are well over 100 years old. But let's get rid of that. David starts a tomato today, and it seeds 10 years down the road. Guess what David just invented? His own heirloom seed. That is what heirloom is, handed from one person to another, to another, to another. Heirloom.
Yep. Just like precious jewels or anything that you may have gotten passed down from your great-great-grandparents or whoever.
It is time-tested and proven. It ain't the fanciest, it ain't the prettiest, but guess what? It feeds you.
Amen. And that's what it's all about, survival and independence, because without the food, you can't be independent.
Oh, you're not free without food. A free man cannot feed himself. Or I'm saying, a free man can feed himself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
without
along
that,
with many other things.
are you free?
That's it. Exactly. And this is what it comes down to, folks. But you have to get up. You have to get out of that chair, away from that TV, away from that computer, and do something. And it don't take long. It took me 3 days, okay, of working, because I had a lot more work to do than the average person because of all the sand and everything. So I put 3 hard days in, and now I can kick back and just watch, maintain, do little bits here and there. My hours in for now, are again my own, until the time comes when I got to start, doing the harvesting and the canning and all the other stuff. But the initial hours, 20, 30 plus hours, about 30 hours that I put into labor time, will pay for itself 1,000 times over.
Yes, this is not going to come on its own. It will not. It takes work. It don't take somebody telling you to do it, other than your wife, but that's a different story. It's not going to come on its own. It takes work. And that's where we get back. You see the fruits of your labor. Exactly. Is that not a free man?
Yes, indeedy. Yes,
you see the fruits of your labor. That's written in the Bible for a reason.
Not a piece of paper, folks, or a piece of plastic in your wallet.
No, it's not handed to you. You can't give a FRN for it. Sure, you can go to the grocery store to buy it. Guess what? It is still grown. Why are you paying for something that you can do? Somebody grew it.
Yeah. Other than laziness.
Yeah, we've become so lazy, I'd rather pay for it. When it's free, other than my labor.
And once you get started, that's it. And the beauty thing about it is, now we move into the next phase, which is what we brought up just before the break there. We started talking about, composting and, making our own mulches and whatnot. Now we have a garden. Now we're growing, right? Now we have natural waste product or byproducts, those parts we're not going to be eating, okay, that we can add and start and begin a compost. Well, many people may have heard the name. They might even be a little bit familiar with it, but they may not realize how simple it really is to get started. There's so many things that can go into it that we don't have to put into the garbage can because we can utilize it. Simple ideas, such as Jose was telling me in chat there, because he was asking me about it. He's one of the ones who brought the questions up. And says you grab a 5-gallon bucket with a lid and a barrel that has a removable lid. The bucket goes inside the house next to the garbage can, and the barrel goes outside next to the fence or wherever, and where you can set up your compost. All your food products, all right, anything that's left over that's edible, consumable, degradable, you put, instead of dumping it in the garbage can, you dump it in your little pan, your little 5-gallon bucket. It's got a lid on there, so you don't have to worry about, odor. And when it gets full, you take it out to your big barrel, or wherever you're setting up your compost, and you add it to it. And you turn it over every once in a while, and it just naturally becomes some of the richest soil that you can make. And you can make it on your own, and it don't cost nothing. You're just using the waste.
What smells like trash in the beginning, give it 3 months, put your hand in it, it will smell like pure dirt. Simple.
Yeah. And it's not hard to do. You could do it on a small or a large of a scale as you want. Your coffee grinds go in there. Anything that
eggshells.
Yeah.
Anything that is not meat. Well, we won't get in the bone because that's a different process. Fecal matter, anything that is naturally grown is compost. Even your paper from your coffee filter, guess what it is? When it decomposes, it is carbon, which is what? Nitrogen. Where does carbon come? Where does paper come from? Trees, right?
Trees, natural product, yeah.
A natural product. This is so simple, but we forgot it.
I got a basic idea, but what is the purpose of, because I know it's different than compost, is the mulch. I always hear about going out and getting mulch and putting it around our garden, around our road. It looks so pretty. You got all these little pieces of wood and stuff. Different colors. You can get them in red and different shades depending on the wood and stuff.
Now your reds are dyed. Your blacks are dyed. When we talk about what you're talking about, I like to refer to it as wood chips.
Right.
All right, let's walk back into the woods. What's on the floor of the woods? Decomposing wood products. Right?
Absolutely.
Do we have to tell it?
Nope.
What we're doing is nature is decomposing it back to its mineral. Remember, nothing ends. You can burn a log in your fireplace. It is a piece of wood. What does it turn to? Ashes. Right?
Absolutely.
Did that piece of wood ever end?
No. Just turned into a different form of energy or mineral.
Yeah. It turned into a different material. That's all it is. This is a circle. That's all it is. And that's the simplest way I can explain it.
I got a question. I'm going to bounce it around there before I forget that thought. We're talking about the coffee grinds and all that. What about the charcoal stuff from like our barbecue pits and stuff? Can we add that in there, or because they're processed, would that affect it?
Charcoal is nothing but wood.
Right, yeah, it's like done at a high density compression
It's charred.
Yeah.
It's charred wood.
Okay.
Yes,
cool.
you can add it.
Cool. I thought so. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, charcoal. Kingsford invented it. It goes back to the Ford company.
Right.
It is nothing but wood. He had to come up with a way to get rid of his byproducts, so we come up with charcoal. Charcoal is nothing but wood.
Cool. Yep, I thought so. I just want to double check. Hey, the only stupid question around here, folks, is the one we don't ask. And I'm doing all this just like many of you, so.
We can burn plastic. You don't want to put plastic in your garden because if it is plastic, we burn plastic. Guess what it is? It's still plastic. A petroleum product. Ashes from natural sources. It looks like an ash, but believe it or not, get down to the molecule of it, it's still that tree. Is that simple enough?
Yes, sir. Yeah, can't go wrong there. Anything that's comes from nature that can be broken down, you can put in there. Some things take a little bit longer. And the same thing with the aquaponics system, folks. Just the hidden key, the secret, if you will. If you're doing composting, gardening, aquaponics, even if you're using the stone medium, because we don't use soil when you do a closed system, there's a hidden secret, and that's your earthworms, your bloodworms, your worms. If you don't have worms, you're not growing. That used to be our little rule of thumb there when it comes to aquaponics stuff. And same thing with compost. You can buy yourself a thing of worms, and you put your newspaper in there, you wet it down, you put all these other products in there, and your worms, they help the whole process. They help break it all down. They turn it over. Worms is like the secret of life. Am I wrong in that?
What's that saying? Shit is shit.
Yep.
I hate to be rude, but yeah, shit is shit. Unless it comes from us, because we eat so much impurities. So, and I'm sure Jose knows because he has livestock.
Oh, yeah.
Feed livestock a unnatural GMO product and a natural product, see which one they go to.
Yeah.
Because nature knows. And they will go to the natural product.
Yeah, they don't want that crap.
No, they don't. I'm getting
Jose was just telling me, he said, yeah, they won't touch any of the GMO stuff. Any of his livestock, they won't go near it.
Just like corn, a cow was not meant to eat corn, but they're fed it. Why? To make them grow bigger and quicker. That ain't the point behind it. A cow was meant to eat grass.
It's the reason why. Here's something too, that even our own human bodies, if you eat a lot of corn, like whole corn, eating corn on the cob, stuff like that. Have you ever noticed the following morning, the kernels are in the toilet?
It still comes out, just like peanuts.
Your body,
because your body does not digest it.
Exactly, and this is why they feed that to livestock, to fatten them up, because their bodies can't digest it either.
Exactly.
It just blows them up. It's like being bloated. That feeling, you hear the women, I'm feeling bloated. Because they have all this extra product within their body. And their body, hasn't gotten rid of it yet. Of course, we have a natural cycle to that. But that's what corn's about. I mean, why do you think corn, if you're going to eat corn, you got to grow your own, folks, because they grow corn now for everything. everything they're turning into fuels for the cars, your biofuels and stuff. They're turning it into pharmaceuticals. Okay,
Yeah.
they can inject this DNA or this sequence into that, and they can take a corn on the cob and turn that into 20, 30, 40, 50 deadly pharmaceuticals. Okay, so this is what's happening.
All right, let's go back to gardening.
Yeah.
Corn is one of your most nitrogen absorbing plants in your garden, right? Oh, it is. Okay, if that does that, your body does the same. It is the most nitrogen absorbing things in your body. It's gas. Like I told you, it's gasoline. It makes you go. We call it carbohydrates, right?
Yep.
So what ain't used goes in the toilet. We are defying nature. Guess who wins? Nature.
Every time.
But it makes us feel good at the time. And hey, it's hard to explain. Our mind, and that's where the fast food industry is winning. They are feeding us with such little minerals that we constantly crave more. When you grow your own food naturally, you're getting them natural minerals that the mind desires. And guess what? You don't eat more. You fed the mind. That is scientific.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's garbage in, folks, garbage out. That's what it comes down to. Start putting the good stuff in, and your brain's going to function differently. Your body's going to respond differently. You put an end to obesity and poor health issues and all of it. All of it, folks. All of it. There's nothing negative. This is all beneficial, and you can do it from the smallest scale to the largest scale, whatever you're comfortable with, whatever you have room for, and start out small. And it's just the startups. Once you get started, the rest provide.
And I'm not begging by any means.
You know what?
I'm not begging.
Begging?
I love meat.
There you go.
But I love vegetables too.
Yeah, I'm a big meat eater. But that's when you have also the advantage of hunting. Now you got your own. Again, you go out, you get your own fresh kill. You know where, how it was processed, what happened after the fact. It's a whole new ball game. It's a whole new experience for one who's never had, a hunter in the family or friends who are hunters, and I've sat down at the barbecue with fresh venison and whatever else, the alike. But it's just a difference between night and day, and just like your vegetables. Yeah, it's amazing, what we can get back to and how we can correct common health issues. Jose's talking about the ADD and the ADHD and all that. You can eliminate all that stuff. All right.
Let's not get into ADHD. You know what Daddy called ADHD back in my day?
What was that?
Ass whooping.
There you go. Yeah, ain't that the truth? That'll knock it out of you real quick, huh?
Yes. Settle down.
Yes, indeedy. Yeah, that'll take it right out of you. But you would eliminate a lot of those problems. It's just that we're so bodies are so full of the sugars, of the non-natural sugars, but we're just full of the crap.
It is.
No. It's not good. It's not healthy for us. It's not mentally healthy. It's not physically healthy for us. And it's not financially beneficial to us, especially anymore, with that sticker shock going on. Folks, it's time to we're behind the 8 ball as it is. But just like the old saying is, I was talking about one of the seniors, and they were talking about getting education. They're retired and wanted to go do some education. They were thinking about attending college and that. And the question is posed like, well, how old are you now? Well, I'm 50-some years old. Says, well, how old are you going to be when you graduate school? If the answer is different, then go see a psychiatrist type of deal or something. It's something along that line. I think you've heard that before. So at least most people probably have heard that. But the whole point is, well, if you don't go to school now, how old are you going to be in 2 years? If you do go to school, how old are you going to be in 2 years when you finish school? If you come up with a different answer, you better check yourself in, kind of deal. The point is, folks, the point is, folks, now's the time. Don't put it off because, I'm not going to get my first product for 4 weeks or 6 weeks or whatever it takes. Well, guess what? 6 weeks from now, you're going to be able to stop buying the crap, and you're going to have your own. Well, if you don't grow 6 weeks from now, what are you going to be doing? You're still going to be running down to the grocery store, and then all that money's coming out of your, your budget, and you're putting all that crap still in your system.
Exactly. And what do you go do in the grocery store? Don't have it.
Yeah, exactly. The biggest
you
point.
Go starve.
Now, when you get into all this, folks, you're going to find. See, I was thinking, of course, thanks to Ed, I didn't do that. I'm thinking I need 30 friggin' tomato plants so I can make a little bit of pasta sauce, because I'm thinking like orange juice. I got orange all over the place. I know it takes me a half a tree to make a good amount of orange juice. And of course, he just looked at me like, if we were sitting across from each other, he'd do one of those NCIS things and smack me in the back of the head. The difference is, when you use to make tomato sauce, you're using the whole tomato. Duh. One of those slap in the back of the head moments, duh. Real
that's like
good for me.
Ragu spaghetti sauce. You think they use the whole tomato? No. They use what they need to make ragu. The rest of it they sell to somebody else for some other product. You get to use it all. You get the whole benefit of it. Plain and simple.
And absolutely. It's like, so I cut myself back. The point was, I got 4 little plants right now. See what happens. See if I get enough to get what I want. And the other thing is, folks, when you're growing this stuff, you're going to realize you're going to have a lot more than you can probably consume. Well, what do we do?
Yeah, you will.
And what do we do with it after the fact? That's a whole nother lesson, okay? What do once you have all this? You can always store it in traditional way, like in a refrigerator, wherever you're at, or whatever you may be doing. You can only store fresh fruits and vegetables and stuff for a small period of time before they start going bad. So you better start throwing some big barbecues, right? But then how's that helping you when the day the store shelves are empty? That, folks, is a whole nother show, and I'll have to twist Ed's arm and find another day available to join us on and bring us down that path. And
we're still using spaghetti sauce we canned 5 years ago.
Amazing. How about that, folks? And we're going to talk about canning and a different type of techniques. And from everything Ed's told me and everything I can find out on my own, there's a right way and a wrong way and a best way. And we're going to teach you, Ed's going to teach us all, I should say, the best way to do it. We're going to get and learn about pressure canning, okay, and how to use a simple food processor and vacuum canning for our dry goods and stuff. With that being said, is there anything else that you can think of that we're going to, that we need for those who are just running out tomorrow and possibly trying to get started here? What do you recommend that to make sure they don't want to forget and do type of deal? Step one, got to get that soil prepped.
The only thing I can think of, David, is don't go too big. Don't plant for 5 years down the road. You plant for what you and your family need tomorrow, period. Because if you go too big, you'll be overwhelmed. Remember, big problems are big. Little problems are little. And like I said, there is a big learning curve. If we start this tomorrow and you've never did it before, you're already behind the 8 ball. I've been doing this for 23 years, and every year I learn something new.
That is fantastic. Brother, I'm so grateful. I'm sure our audiences are so excited. We can't thank you enough for spending this time with us this evening and giving us all this great information on this official first day of spring. For those of you people up in the north, we feel for you, still fighting those snowstorms and another storm possibly coming down not too long from now, but that's okay. That's something you guys are used to, and you're adjusting your growing needs according to your location and weather. But I hope even with that, you've had some great information this evening. Maybe some of you have heard about this for the first time and are just now realizing the benefits from this for such a small investment that's going to return itself to you countless timefolds year after year. If you start with the right product to begin with, the future is bright. And that's what it's all about, folks. Having a bright and safe future for all of us, not worrying about where that next meal is going to be coming from, not worrying about when that next paycheck is coming from. You want to be free, you need to know how to feed yourself. And I don't mean because, hey, I got $1 million in the bank, I ain't worried about feeding myself. Because whether you got $1 million in the bank or not, if you go to the store and the shelves are empty, guess what, folks? You're not eating.
Them dollar bills taste like shit.
There you go.
Like I preach, not to take away from you, from his hand to yours. We just forgot it.
Amen. And it's in our DNA, folks. It's part of us. We just got to rediscover it. And once you do, it's a whole new world that opens up for us, a whole new avenue and a way of looking at life. We're down to our final couple of minutes. Again, I can't thank you enough. I can't wait for the next time you can share more of this great information with us. When you have time, just let me know, and I'll make sure we get together and just continue with this fantastic topic and a well-needed topic, especially today. Maybe not so any other time in the future, but in the past, rather. But today, everybody's really feeling the strain between the economy and the shortages that are taking place. The big drought that came across that really hurt all our farmers, all our growers, which also contributes to bringing that price up. So we're not talking about the big scale, folks. We're just talking about start small. You're just trying to feed your family. You're not trying to feed the community and the neighborhood at the time. This time right now, focus on yours and yours.
Amen, brother. Feed yours, then you feed the community.
Amen. God bless you, my friend. We are out of time. Thanks again for everybody to join us here tonight. Don't forget, we'll be back tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. And who knows what guests may appear and show up join us on air, or what topic we just may cover. You'll have to tune in to find out. Till next time we meet, be safe. God bless. Good night, everyone.